Okay, so this lesson is pertaining to solving equations, but what you're going to find is there's not very many numbers. So basically it's solving an equation in terms of a lot of the different variables. And again, it's just solving equations. So as long as you know the steps for doing that, this should not be too terribly difficult. However, it can be very confusing, especially if you struggle with solving equations. So you'll want to pay real close attention here as we go through this. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go directly to the evaluate section, and we're going to start doing some problems. Now, one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to demonstrate how this works by using numbers as an example as well. Okay, so let's take problem number 3 here. It says solve the equation for x. So it wants you to take the given equation here and isolate x by itself. So I'm going to show you a way to kind of do this. Let's say, for instance, since we're solving for x, we're going to make that our variable. So I'm just going to put numbers in place of all the others, okay? So I'm going to put, say for instance, y is 6, b is 2, and say m is, I don't know, 4, okay? So the equation would look like this. It would look like 6 equals 4x plus 2. Now, if I were doing that equation, I would go step by step. What would be the first thing I'd do? I'd get rid of the 2. How? By subtracting. Okay, so those would cancel, and then I would do 6 minus 2 is 4. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing over here with the actual problem, except I don't have a value of 2. Instead I have b. So I'm going to subtract b from both sides. Oops, sorry, I wrote 2. Subtract b from both sides. Here's the problem though. I can't subtract b from y. Now, the b's on the right hand side are still going to cancel, but all I'm left with on the left hand side is y minus b. That's all I can do. Equals mx. Now, let's go back on the right hand side over here. How would I get rid of the 4? I would divide both sides by 4. That would cancel. Oops. And then that would leave 1. So 1 equals x. Okay, now let's go on the left hand side with the actual problem. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide by m. I have to divide the left side. Now, because the whole left side is y minus b, I have to divide all that by m. The m's cancel here. Now, the problem is, again, on the left-hand side, because it's all variables, I can't simplify it to get 1. So what am I left with? I'm left with y minus b, all divided by m, equals x. And that is what I'm doing. So the steps, or the procedure, is exactly the same as if they were numbers. The difference is you just have a lot of variables here. So hopefully that kind of made sense to you a little bit. We're going to do a few more examples here, and hopefully you can just follow along and understand. So here I'm going to do problem number 5. Okay, so it says solve for h. Okay, so here's my variable h. I need to get rid of everything that's with h. Now what is with h? Pi r squared. What am I doing with that? Well, that is all multiplied times h. So how do I get rid of it? The opposite of multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide the right side by pi r squared. Whatever I do to the right side, I got to do to the left. So divide it by pi r squared. The pi and the r squareds cancel. So then that leaves v over pi r squared equals h. So now I have h by itself. And that's what we're always doing. We're looking to see what we're trying to get by itself here in the directions. Alright, let's go down to problem number 9 here. Here we want to solve for, it says t. Okay, what's with t? R. What am I doing with r? It is multiply. So just like above, how do I get rid of multiply? I divide. So divide by r, the r's cancel. So I get D over R equals T. And there's my answer. Alright, so a couple of examples there. Now, they do get a little more challenging. So let's go over to, well, let's just look at problem number 9. I did problem 7. I think I said I was going to do 9. Let's look at problem 9. Okay. It says solve for OV. So this OV is what I'm trying to get by itself. Okay, so this will be one I'm going to use numbers. Okay. So let's say A is, I don't know, 10. FV collectively, so we're going to make this all one big number. So let's say that's 20 minus OV over, I don't know, say T is 5. Okay? Alright, so let's review real quick. When we were solving equations and when we first started talking about it, we said that that is a grouping symbol. It groups everything on top. So I have to get rid of what's on bottom. So on the bottom is 5. I'm dividing by 5, so how do I get rid of it? I'll multiply by 5. So I'm going to multiply the right side by 5, and I'm going to multiply the left side by 5. So that would cancel those, and on the left-hand side, that would give me 50 equals 20 minus OV. Alright, so let's go back up to our problem here. I'm going to erase the directions here a little bit. So, oops. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to shrink it. So I'm going to get rid of this here. Okay. So, again, I'm going to do exactly what I did on the right-hand side over here. I'm going to multiply, not by 5, but by T, because that's what is on the bottom here. So right here we have T, here we had 5, so we multiply by 5, T, so we're going to multiply by T. So I'm going to multiply by T on the right-hand side. So then that gives me, those T's cancel. So on the left-hand side I have, you could do alphabetical order here, just say AT equals FV minus OV. Okay, now let's go back over here to the numbers. What do I get rid of next? I get rid of the 20 by subtracting. Now remember why. This is a positive, so to get rid of it I have to do a negative. So I would subtract, those would cancel, and then I would be left with 30 equals negative OV. So over here I'm going to subtract FV, those cancel. Now I can't actually subtract these, so I'm just left with negative OV. Now over here on the right hand side, remember this is actually a negative 1. So how do I get rid of that? I divide by negative 1. So divide by negative 1, that's going to make that a negative 30 equals OV. Now, what I do on the left-hand side, the same exact thing. I divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. Now, this is, to me, okay. That just leaves OV. So, AT minus FV divided by negative 1 equals OV. However, on the online textbook with the homework, it may not accept it. It may want you to simplify that. So what's the negative 1 going to do? It's going to change the signs of everything. So it's going to become a negative AT and a positive FV equals OV. And I'm assuming that's probably how the online textbook would like you to put your answer. So a little more complex, but still doable. Okay, let's go to problem number 15. Right, here we want to solve for x. So first thing I need to get rid of is my g. So I add g to both sides. Those cancel. Leaves x over 5 equals, now I can't add a and g, so I just put a plus g. How do I get rid of the 5? I'm dividing, so the opposite is multiply. So I multiply by 5. Now the thing is, over here, I'm multiplying all of this by 5. Okay, these 5's cancel. Now, what I would recommend is go ahead and do distributive property here. So you do that, and you're going to get 5a plus 5g. If you wrote the answer as parentheses a plus g times 5, that's okay as well. Again, I'm not sure how the computer is going to accept your answer, so understand both ways. And you might have to do an example there to see. All right, let's look at problem number 19. We want to solve for n. Okay, now here's one that's a little trickier. Why? Because we have n on both sides. Okay, so first thing I've got to do, I'm going to have to do distributive here. So I get an minus 3a plus 8 equals bn. Now, what I have to do is I've got to get my n's all on the same side. So I'm going to subtract an. Why do I subtract? Because this is a positive. Subtract an. Those are going to cancel. So I have negative 3a plus 8 equals. Now, I've got bn minus an. Now, again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get n by itself. Okay? So, since both of these have an n, and you're going to want to remember this later on when we get to a section called factoring, but both of these have an n, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that n out. Since they both have an n, so we take the n out, that leaves b minus a. So that n is now on the outside. Now, what we've got to remember now is this is multiplication. So again, we're trying to get n by itself, so I got to get rid of the b minus a. So I divide by b minus a. Whatever I do on the right, I have to do on the left. So I divide all that by b minus a. Those b minus a's cancel, and that's what n is equal to. That one's pretty difficult, but again, something you want to remember as we get into something called factoring later on. Alright, we're going to do one more here. I'm going to do problem number 21. I'm going to get rid of all this writing here. Okay. It says to find the baseball pitcher's earned run average, ERA, you can use the formula EI equals 9R, in which E represents ERA, I represents the number of innings pitched, and R represents the number of earned runs allowed. Solve the equation for E. Okay, so what it wants us to do is take the original equation, EI equals 9R, and get E by itself. So that means I get rid of the I. That's multiply, so to get rid of multiply, divide. So I divide by I, divide by I, the I's cancel here. So I've got E equals 9R over I. Now, the next part, it says, what is a pitcher's ERA if he allows 5 earned runs in 18 innings pitched? So now what I do, I put this in for R, and then I put this in for, I. So I come on back over here, and E equals 9 times runs, which is 5, over I, which is 18. So that becomes 45 over 18. Get my calculator out here real quick. So if I do 45 divided by 18, that means the pitcher has a 2.5 ERA. So that's how they figure ERA in baseball. And it's also the reason why a lot of times we do formulas like this. We isolate them so that when we need to look for something specific, all we have to do is plug the numbers in. But again, this is just solving equations. Hopefully that helped a little bit. I know it's, for some of you, it's going to be difficult, but keep pressing through and you'll be fine.